All right, good morning, everyone. My name is, are we recording? Morning, everyone. My name is Sterling Higa, Chairperson of the Authority. I'd like to call to order the September 3rd, 2025 public hearing of the Hawaii Community Development Authority. The time is now 9 a.m.
Thank you, Chair. The Hawaii Community Development Authority is holding today's public hearing both virtually on Zoom and in person. The Zoom link details were included in the public hearing notice. Therefore, members of the public are welcome to join us on Zoom or the physical meeting site at the American Brewery Building, 547 Queen Street, second floor boardroom, Honolulu, Hawaii, 96813. The HCDA communication staff is hosting the Zoom portion of this hearing. Once this public hearing begins, everyone will be muted for clearer audio. Board members, if you have any comments or questions, please unmute yourselves to speak. It is important that all individuals clearly state their name each time prior to speaking. If you are providing verbal public testimony, your name will be called accordingly. If you're attending in person, when your name is called, please come to the front of the room. And if you're attending virtually, please turn your video on only while providing your testimony. In either case, please clearly state your name and affiliation and proceed with your testimony. Once oral testimony will be limited to 3 minutes and will be accepted only on matters directly related to the public hearing subject. If the authority's connection for the remote hearing is lost, the hearing will be recessed until the connection is restored. If the connection cannot be restored within 30 minutes, the hearing will be reconvened Thursday, September 4th, 2025 at 9 a.m. at the same physical location and virtual Zoom link as today's hearing. Thank you. Chair.
Thank you. All right, let the record reflect that the following Kalaeloa members are present. Vice Chair Ishii.
Here.
Thank you. Secretary Lidstone is excused. Member Miranda Johnson.
Yeah.
Thank you. Member Anderson.
Yeah.
Thank you. Member Streitz. Here. Thank you. Member Evans.
Here.
Thank you. Member Gordner is excused.
We have quorum, Chair.
Thank you. Individuals from the public who have requested to provide verbal public testimony on the proposed amendments to the Kalaeloa plan and rules are on standby and will be permitted to provide testimony respectively.
Today's hearing is being convened under the provisions of Chapter 15-215 Kalaeloa Community Development District Rules and Chapter 15-219 Rules of Practice and Procedure, Hawaii Administrative Rules, and Section 206E-5.6 Hawaii Revised Statutes to consider the following matter. Amendment of the Kalaeloa Community Development District Rules, HER Chapter 15-215, and the Kalaeloa Master Plan. The Kalaeloa Master Plan was adopted in 2006, and the Kalaeloa Community Development District Rules were last amended in 2012. HCDA initiated the plan and rule amendments process in 2020. The proposed amendments to the Kalaeloa Community Development District rules are intended to clarify and streamline land use permitting processes in Kalaeloa. This should improve regulatory predictability and consistency. The proposed amendments also establish a new zoning district for the Department of Hawaiian Homelands and add special overlay zones to promote a Main Street character along Saratoga Avenue and to protect and interpret the historic landscape within the Ewa Plain battlefield. Minimum parking requirements are being eliminated to align with the City and County of Honolulu policies. Language is also being added to reflect Act 221, Session Laws of 2023, which amends HR Section 206E-33 to require the authority to consider climate change, sea level rise, and climate resistant development in the design and siting of buildings. The authority is conducting today's public hearing to present the rule amendments and collect public testimony. There will be no decision making today on the proposed amendments. A public hearing notice was published in the Honolulu Star Advertiser, Maui News, the Garden Isle, Hawaii Tribune Herald, and West Hawaii Today on Thursday, July 31st, 2025. Chair.
Thank you. Let me briefly explain our procedures for today's public hearing. First, HCDA staff will present its report. Following that presentation, board members will have an opportunity to ask questions and provide comments. And following that, we'll take public testimony in the order that individuals have signed up. Individual comments will be limited to no more than 3 minutes, and only members of the authority will be permitted to ask questions of the public. Since each authority member has or will be given a copy of any written testimony that you may have provided, please refrain from reading your written testimony and instead summarize your comments in the time that you have available. When you're called, the communication staff will unmute your mic. Please clearly state your name and any organization that you are representing. I will be acting as the presiding officer for today's hearing. Are there any questions as to our procedures? Seeing none, we'll now begin our proceedings. Mr. Ryan Tam, Director of Planning and Development, will now present the staff report. Mr. Ryan Tam.
Good morning, Chair Higa and board members. If you'll permit, I'm going to share my screen. Oh. There. Thanks. And thank you. Also like to, before we get started, I also wanted to acknowledge the hard work of all the planning staff and administrative team, including Keelan, Tommylin, Francine, Armaine, as well as the planning team, Nancy, both present and former members, Nancy, Charlene, Martin, Brandon, John. So again, this is certainly a team effort, and we've been at this a long time, and there are also a lot of previous staff members, Janice, Janet, a lot of previous team members who worked on this. Again, you do have a copy of the staff. You do have a copy of the staff report in your packets. We did start this process in 2020, so this has been a long journey. In 2022, we had a HCDA board presentation, community meetings, also presented to the Rotary Club. There was a permitted interaction group that was also formed by the board to review the previous drafts of the plan and rules. In 2023, we had another series of HCDA board and community meetings. 2024, additional neighborhood board meeting, as well as a public hearing. And then last month, a few weeks ago, we were also out of the Makakilo Kapolei neighborhood board. So this has been a long process, and we're excited to move this along. So just to recap, kind of in summary, the overall vision of for the Kalaeloa master plan. Again, the original master plan was developed in 2006. And the initial rules, the administrative rules governing the permitting for Kalaeloa was implemented in 2012. The vision that was for the initial master plan, which we're continuing with, was the idea of a Wahi Ho'okela, so a center of excellence. And the idea is to kind of balance the three elements that you see on the screen. So creating social value, mainly with housing, connectivity, open space, promoting economic development and employment, making sure that we have the infrastructure to support industry and jobs, and then balancing development. So again, designing for sustainability and socio-economic equity. And a lot of this is making sure that we design for the 15 to 20-minute city, so that you can get your ordinary daily needs within a 5-minute walk. Maybe a grocery store. You can get your broader uses within a 20-minute walk. retail, schools, employment. And then within a 20-minute bike ride, transit, other mobility, you can get to more regional activities such as culture, medical, regional shopping or entertainment. And so the whole idea, again, is how do we design a new community to be more sustainable, to conserve resources and use less energy. And so Kalaeloa has the continued potential for all of this. One thing that we did here, I think last year and the year before, was that we wanted to, we need to pay more attention to kind of the culture and history of the area. And so in our draft last year, and we're continuing to work on really building up the history. So for example, the Kolokai Trail, the Naalaheles used to come through Kalaeloa, and those go right through the Heritage Park, Kalaeloa Heritage Park. So there's a lot of history kind of in this area, in addition to kind of the military history. One of the changes kind of in this draft of the plan and rules that we're doing is switching to the use of floor area ratios as a way to regulate the building massing. And so in kind of this new urbanism context of for planning, there's this idea of a transit zone, and a transit zone is basically covers the gamut, the range of different development or building types or land use intensities, from completely kind of not undeveloped, that would be like a T0, to rural, up to kind of the urban, the most intense, which would be something like a T5 urban center. Here in Kalaeloa, we've identified these 4 different typologies as being relevant and appropriate for development. So you have T2, that's on the left in greens, that's rural. So that you might see a building height of up to about 24 feet. That's 1 to 2 stories. We allow commercial, civic, and some industrial uses potentially standalone. Example might be at the Kalaeloa Heritage Park, Hale. In T3, which is the most of the district, and traditionally, if you look at kind of the previous iteration of the plan, most of the district was mixed use, and so that encompasses a gamut and anything from residential, commercial, industrial, and that would typically be about a 60-foot maximum height, 3 to 4 stories. So just an example from I believe Seattle photo. And then T4, a little more intense, so a little higher, taller buildings, 5 to 6 stories, about 75 feet. Again, we're got more limited areas of T4 that's general urban. And then the most intense urban center, that's 90 feet, would be building heights, 7 to 8 stories, 7 to 9 stories. We want to. Okay, sure. Just some examples of kind of what it could be like. Ho'opili is a good example of kind of a new community, a lot of ground floor commercial retail, and then more development on the upper levels. And so this might be an example of what Main Street would be like. So Saratoga Avenue. So the transits, I talked about it. The T2, again, rural, T3 mixed use, so T2 is in green on this map. T3 mixed use is in this orange, yellow, orange. T4 is general urban, that's in the pink, and then T5, the urban center, is in purple. Again, T2, floor area ratio. So again, that's the intensity, the amount of building massing that you can get on a parcel. Floor area ratio of FAR1 is basically if you take an entire lot and cover it completely with a one-story building. So T2, we have an FAR of 0.35. T3, the mixed use zone, we're increasing it slightly up to 1.5 floor area ratio. T4, again, the general urban, it's 2.5 FAR, and T5 is 4.5. So again, taller buildings. In red on this map, you can see this is our Saratoga overlay frontage zone. So again, this is intended to create a more active frontage Main Street with some type of activation. So it could be commercial, could be some other active uses. And then in this dashed line in the upper right corner is the Everplain Battlefield, which was designated as eligible for listing on the National Register in 2016. So it's something that's new since the original master plan and rules were initiated. The other colors you can see in gray, again, we have a lot of the airports. We've also designated the brown as the military or federal controlled parcels, including the golf course. And then in this lighter brown shade is the Department of Hawaiian Homelands, which actually has federal supremacy. So we're giving them their own district, and they are essentially able to develop as according to their own master plans and rules. So one of the again, one of the changes, and I think I did mention this at last month's meeting, but again, one of the changes is moving more of the urban center development from the historical downtown heart of Kalaeloa, between Midway and Enterprise Street, moving that up to area along Roosevelt Avenue. And the reason why we're staff is kind of proposing that is looking at potential future extensions of the mass transit. However that happens, we feel that the Roosevelt Avenue is perhaps a more appropriate corridor for a high capacity mass transit system rather than swinging down through the heart of Kalaeloa, which is what was planned in 2006. So the idea is you would have transit, whatever mode it ends up being along Roosevelt, and then the higher density along Roosevelt to support that. Again, it's just a suggestion for future studies by the WAP Metropolitan Planning Organization, the city and county, other entities. One thing we also have is again our thoroughfare plan. Again, the major change that we have from previous plans is previous plans showed city and state roadways, Malcolm Mackay roadways through the Everplain Battlefield. So that's here on the right. So we're removing those from our kind of conceptual thoroughfare plan in favor of maybe extending Corregidor Street to an existing right of way, which would circle around the property that the city's Department of Parks and Recreation has recently acquired. Again, other major roadway connectors. You have the Malakoli Street extension that would connect to Campbell Industrial Park, connecting up to Waikea Street, which would then take you up to the freeway. And then last year, or even the year before, when we went out to the Eva Kapolei neighborhood boards, we understood that the connection to Eva Beach is also really important. So we're working with landowners to try to get a connection from Triple Street, just provide access to the beaches and the recreational areas. So a lot of that's kind of the plans. I did want to turn to the administrative rules. In general, we are looking at getting a lot more consistency with our rules in other districts as well as the city. So that's kind of aligning the permit types and other refinements. The roadway classifications, for example, we're trying to get those also consistent with the city's definitions, kind of deferring to cities' review for street trees. For example, floor area definitions, that's another thing that in this draft of the rules, we're actually just adopting the city's definition for floor area. In Kakako, we have, and historically in HCA districts, we've had a slightly different definition of floor area. For developers, this requires them to do a whole separate set of plan calculations and plan sets when they submit for the HCDA permits. So by switching to just using the city's floor area definitions is going to save them a lot of work and should make the development a lot more efficient. Other things we're doing, for example, we're trying to make more flexible green building standards. So instead of requiring leadership for environmental design, for example, we're allowing other certification systems. Allowing use of stormwater and retention and detention ponds for recreation facilities if they're designed properly. Also, we are also trying to get consistent with the city's ordinance 2041, removing off-street parking minimums to get aligned with the city's transit-oriented development goals. And so this actually could also have the potential to really promote transit and promote more sustainable urban development. Just some examples of some other rules updates. Again, in your packets and online, there's a full detail summary of all the changes as well as a Ramsey version. Again, we're still getting comments from the development community and others on the specifics. So current version is posted. Just some examples, and some of these provisions were kind of recommended by the previous boards, permitted interaction groups and other input. So trying to streamline historic preservation requirements, trying to make sure that developers confirm that they've complied with the state historic preservation requirements. Another big, and I may have mentioned this last month, but again, the permits, we're simplifying the permits. Thresholds are based on project size rather than parcel area. So this makes a lot more permits accessible to more different, it should make it a lot more efficient. Again, adding on Native Hawaiian cultural consultants, signage in Kalaeloa, Hawaii, and English, where possible. So just things like that. Here's a kind of a graphical representation of how we're trying to streamline permitting and also kind of make it align it more closer to what we're doing in Kakako. In the current rules, essentially you need a development permit for any parcel, any lot that's greater than 40,000 square feet, which is most of the parcels. A lot of the parcels in Kalaeloa are large parcels. So you need to go through a contested case hearing process. So that's in red. Now we're changing the definition so that it's based on project size, not lot size. It's down to 35,000 square feet. And then we're adding a bunch of other different types of permits that you can see on the right. So for example, the improvement permit, renovation permit rules. So this should allow homeowners and small business owners to do improvement projects and to make improvements to their properties much more easily without a lot of the permitting and a lot of the processes that were currently present. I did want to talk a little briefly about the Everplain battlefield, and this is one thing that staff placed a lot of attention on over the last year. Again, we're looking at the northeast corner of the district. So up here, let's see this Kamakana Li'i waste treatment plant is on the right. Roosevelt is this main road, Pride Fields, and then this Coral Sea. So this is kind of the location. Again, the Everplain battlefield was really important. It started out as a mooring mast field. So the Navy was going to use this, start out in the 20s, planning for their large airships to cross the Pacific, and they would dock here. So they built a large mooring mast. As kind of World War II started to ramp up, they redeveloped the mooring mast field into a Marine Corps air station. And then this is what you can see on the right, kind of in the same location. You can see the runway and the fields. And actually you can see, if you can make it out in this figure, there are these kind of lines that are drawn painted onto the tarmac. And that's actually, they had painted these lines for the use by the pilots to train on how to land on carriers. So it's a really significant. This Everplain battlefield was also the first site that was attacked on December 7th, 1941. So it was attacked about 3 minutes before Pearl Harbor. The Japanese came around, and these are this picture on the lower left. You can see the soldiers. They were they took shelter in a swimming pool that was being constructed, and they were firing at the Japanese planes from that position. And so the remnants of that swimming pool are still there, and so that's kind of significant. Over the last couple months, this year actually, the Navy has been working with the historic preservation community to identify what features kind of in this area are significant, what are eligible for listing. And so in addition to the battlefield, which you can see in this yellow outline, again, there are features like the runway, the old kind of runway outline on the warming up map are there. You can actually also see so there are features like that. Recently, they've identified also some wooden warehouse buildings that's in purple up here that are also eligible for listing, as well as the Quonset huts that are there. So and also what's new is a Cold War district. So there are some buildings that were used during the Cold War for surveillance and monitoring, and so those are also eligible for listing. So our strategy, this has kind of just happened, or just kind of, these are kind of new developments. So we're looking at adding language to kind of referencing potential memorandum of agreement or programmatic agreements to protect or interpret these sites, these areas. And then staff also worked on trying to develop concepts of how this battlefield, this area could potentially be interpreted and preserved, elements of it preserved while still kind of facilitating development. And so, for example, this is just a hypothetical concept that we came up with. You know, the warming mat, there's a ceremonial flagpole could be maintained. Visitor center could be developed on an old hangar site. And then you could reinterpret the runways as kind of open spaces, as green spaces that could be used for recreational facilities. So again, this is an idea of kind of balancing development and interpreting. And my second to the last slide, again, in addition to the planning rules, we're also working on an infrastructure master plan, which we hope to make substantial progress by the end of the year. We've been working with the Kalaeloa Water Company and some of the other utilities to ensure that we have enough resources to facilitate the development. HCDA also is working on some electrical projects, as you may well know. We have an $18 million project to work with the Navy to transfer customers to the HECO grid, as well as upgrades to Saratoga Avenue. We're also working to support Kalaeloa Water Company on the use of R1 water. Again, you have a draft. Again, we're here today to kind of get community input. We are accepting comments until September 16th, 17th. And the current draft planning rules are all on the website at the link shown. And we're allowing submissions via email, web, and other methods. So, subject, and we'll produce an updated draft by the end of the month, once we get all the comments in and once we can process it. And then that'll move us towards the decision-making hearing November 5th. So, subject to your questions.
Thank you, Mr. Ryan. Members, any questions or comments? Member Evans, please.
Ryan, thank you very much for that helpful explanation of some of the terms. My first question is, I'm not quite clear how the historic overlay district relates to the active current airport, Kalaeloa Airport, this, I presume, under the jurisdiction of the State Department of Transportation Airports Division. There a map that shows that?
Yeah, so The Eva Battlefield is up here on the upper right corner.
Oh. And so it's proposed for,
Eh.
T3,
Yeah,
except for the overlay.
so the overlay is just kind of on, so it's, the underlining zoning would be T3, so still allow kind of mixed use. You know, I know that there's a large, we understand that there's a large demand for light industrial uses. Which, you know, would be more compatible with the noise environment. The airport is here in this kind of lighter gray. And then the circle is a navigation beacon. Okay.
Well, that actually leads to my second question, Chair, which, the Board of Water Supplies testimony, called out the term eco-industrial use.
Yeah.
I'm not familiar with that. What is eco-industrial use?
I think the board, so the Board of Water Supply, eco-industrial, I'm not, I'd have to look, go through and, look at the definition through, do a little more research on that. You know, that's in general, that's more, I think like desalination, things like that would kind of qualify as that type of,
What was that?
desalination,
Oh, I see. Okay.
things like that. So the Board of Water Supply, they were more concerned about, they own a parcel at the edge of the district, lower, left corner. So it's across the canal, so it's kind of in Campbell Industrial Park. They are planning a desal plant there. I think in previous versions, we had assigned that as T2 because, you know, we thought it would still be compatible with the proposed uses, but we've in this draft, we've reverted it back to T3, which would allow their uses.
Then Chair, I have a comment.
Please.
I love the increase in intersections to improve pedestrian access. Super blocks often lead to people dashing across in the middle of the block and endangering themselves and, you know, wheeled vehicles. So I think that's a huge improvement for pedestrians. Thank you.
Yeah, thanks. And I did need to, I did want to acknowledge, you know, we had a consultant team from Torty Gallison Partners that worked on this for 3 or 4 years, and they brought together a lot of those kind of key concepts, such as the intersection density to the plan. So.
Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Member Evans. Members, any other comments or questions? Member Strikes.
Thanks, Chair. Thanks for the presentation, Ryan. First question, I got a number of questions. The first one was relating to the comment period. Did you send out requests for comments on this draft?
We did.
Okay.
Yeah, we did. No, we did. I know we sent it out to landowners in the Kalaeloa list. If we missed any agencies, we can.
Okay. I don't recall seeing it, but I'll check
Okay.
internally first.
Okay, we
But yeah, I think, you know, we had
apologize.
previously commented on a prior draft. So
Yeah.
I think we'd want to,
Okay,
you know, have a look at that
okay.
as a department.
Good.
So the other questions I have, I guess, kind of generally speaking from how the boundaries of Kalaeloa were established. Are they, because, you know, like on the left-hand side, it kind of follows some jagged pattern on some of those parcels. So is this following just the historical ownership from, like, you know, federal to I guess state now? Or does it also include like utility systems as well to determine those boundaries? So it does seem kind of odd, you know, that on the other side of that drainage canal, you have, you know, a couple of those that seem like kind of geographically out of place and might.
My understanding is that it was just the federal ownership base, but we can look into that.
Okay,
Even
Go ahead, go ahead.
the boundaries of the district would be established by state statute, if I'm not
Yeah,
mistaken.
and it wasn't changed from the member straits.
right, yeah, I was just trying to get a little background on how
Yeah,
yeah.
was determined. Okay. So, yeah, I do appreciate, you know, you're thinking through the transit and land use aspects with, you know, your recommendation to push forward any rail extension up towards FDR Avenue and kind of thinking through, I think we had brought that up in discussion at prior board meetings about, you know, supporting that extension through increased density. It does look like you increased the density. I was wondering if you could summarize what those increases are from like T3 to T5, because I only see the T3 listed in the staff report going from 1.25 to 1.5. It looks like the other T4 and T5 were also increased. Like, what's the increment that was increased on those? And then as a follow-up, I was curious why you chose that amount, like just in the case of what's shown for the increment of T3.25 to 0.5 seems kind of small.
Yeah. So T3, the slight increase in density, that actually we were it was kind of a staff recommendation. We were looking at and it actually came out of the looking at how we would develop the Eva Battlefield area or what potentially could be developed. And in kind of looking at the parcels in that area with certain types of open space. That was, you know, needed just a little bit more. 1.5 is also a little more consistent with, you know, other areas. Like in Kakaako, for example, industrial. T4 stayed at 2.5, so that didn't change. T5, I think we increased from 3.5 up to 4.5 just to get a little more density. And that was a comment that we did get from I think the year previously to try to increase the density. So
Okay. And then I was curious too, I saw only the name of T3 change from a general to mixed use title, but aren't T3 and T5 also mixed use? I was just kind of curious why only that name changed.
we changed that to mixed use just to be more clear that it's mixed use. Historically in Kalaeloa, you know, light industrial has been kind of allowed in I think all the transits to my recollection. Again, T5 is intended to become more urban center. You know, it's kind of more the higher intensity, so that stayed. When you look at kind of the lower density type of residential, that would be allowable in kind of the T3, but not in some of the other districts.
Okay, and then lastly, just kind of going back full circle, the, you know, anticipated or recommended rail route extension kind of justifies land use recommendations. So I see that clearly in this land use plan, concentrating development up along, you know, FDR Avenue, but then I I noticed in the master plan, there's really kind of three options, but the land use plan is really, I guess, geared towards the rail option. So there's just bus transit.
Yeah,
That's kind of like a given, just regardless of whether there's rail built in the area, you would want to improve that, especially if you're, pairing that with removing parking jobs and so forth. But then I think where this plan could benefit from is having more discussion on transit hub and thinking through, like, if rail doesn't come through, maybe like BRT, bus rapid transit line, and or like, kind of a hub and spoke type of situation where that just gets kind of detailed out a little bit more. And I think it kind of mentioned in the narrative that that might be more appropriate for like the Saratoga route versus like how you're saying shifting rail up from there to FDR Avenue. So as kind of, backup to, if rail doesn't come through this area, or if, the phasing is so far out and things start developing here, you can have an earlier phase to help increase, transit access and TOD around that.
Yeah, and I think certainly, again, this is, I think this would accommodate, like Metro or, other BRT or other things, that would all equally work. And Saratoga Avenue, as a kind of main street, could support other types of mobility. Certainly, autonomous vehicles or other things could provide access to other transit stations or transit centers. The other opportunity that we do have is also for the infrastructure master plan to start. We could put in more discussion on, potential transit mobility hubs and things like that. But we haven't studied that per se a lot in this planning effort.
Yeah, I think my ask is just that maybe add some more references to that as a, potential option.
Yeah, more balanced discussion,
Yeah.
certainly.
Thanks.
Thank you, Member Schritz. Members, any other questions or comments? Online. Okay, we'll move now to.
Chair, sorry. Since there are no other member questions, I'm gonna, if I may.
Please.
Member Lidstone was not able to make it today, but she did have some questions. And I think in fairness, I'm just gonna read the question and then try to answer them as best that I can. So her first question is, how does the master plan address the use of original place names such as reinstating the name Kanehili for the area now called Kalaeloa? So in that response to that question, I think as we go through we're going through the Kapaa analysis right now for the plan and rules. So we try to address that in the plan and rules. I mean, in the Kapaa analysis, that's also going to be presented at the November public hearing. And as well as as we go through and tweak the plan a little bit more, maybe we can provide for allowing those kind of place names to be used, in connection with development and in terms of, development project. The second question is, how does the master plan ensure the protection and preservation of the historic Ewa battlefield? So this is a question that I think, a topic that Ryan covered pretty well. There's going to be a reference in the master plan to a memorandum of agreement or PA that we are working on with the applicable parties to ensure the protection of those areas. And we have overlays now, historic overlays for that Ewa Marine battlefield. Third question is, what role does the master plan play in assessing and mitigating possible toxic dumping related to past military use? So the rules in connection with any kind of development, the rules will require a developer to comply with all federal, state, and county laws, including DOH. So I think all of that will be addressed in the rules as part of the development of each parcel. So those are the three questions that Member Lidstone wanted to ask if she were here. So thank you for that, Chair.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Members, any other comments or questions? Seeing none, we'll move now to public testimony. Since the notice of the public hearing was published on Thursday, July 31st, 2025, and written testimony invited, as of today, the HCDA has received 5 written testimonies, 1 in opposition and 4 for comments only. We will now take verbal public testimony. Speakers will be called upon to testify in the order in which they have signed up, and public testimony will be limited to 3 minutes each. Since each authority member has or will be given a copy of any written testimony that you may have provided, please refrain from reading your written testimony and instead summarize your comments in the time that you have available. When you are called, please clearly state your name and any organization that you are representing. The first person signed up is Tara Rojas. Please limit your comments to 3 minutes.
Ms. Rojas?
One sec. Aloha, wait. Where is my camera? Before you start my time. Can you turn my camera on?
Yeah.
Join as panelist.
Now you can turn your camera on.
I don't know if you heard that.
Ms. Rojas, you can turn your camera on.
Wait, can you see me? Okay, so.
There you go. We got you.
Okay, so aloha, I have several things, and a 3-minute does not do justice, because as you're presenting today, I have also comments to make. So before you start my time, I just want to say that, because like your own people said, did you even present this, to have the comments and everything? But anyhow, so my time starts now. Aloha, Tara Rojas. I've been coming to these meetings, and I want to call out that your public testimony has been maybe on a handful, like 5 people, including myself, that's representing, that's going to affect this whole area of, as you heard Mikiala mention, Kanehili. It's not Kalaeloa, it's Kanehili. Now, I do need to share this with you as part of my testimony, that, one sec. I do have, what you have as well for the Kapa'akai, and it says right there, Navy is supposed to follow its own rules and regulations. I know you're saying that, but they don't. They destroyed it at historic archaeological sites on federal public lands in HCDA, and as you mentioned, Kalaeloa. The fresh rainwater flows, and you have it in your plan, the storm water, the drainage flows all to the sea. And that's where the limu grows. It says right here, there's Opai Ula, the very special Opai Ula. And let me go here. So this is what we're looking at right now. The mountain again, and water and rainfall streams flow directly through the Ewa Plain into the ancient coral reef and into the shore and reef system, affecting the health and pollution of these traditional Native Hawaiian resources, Kanaka Maoli resources, which are the basis for the Ewa Kanehili marine ecosystems. So there's more I can go in here, All of this is a documented desecration. Okay, so now, let me go back to here in the time that I have. Let's not be confused. This HCDA, Hawaii Community Development Authority, is not a neutral planning body. HCD is a development corporation of the state. Its mission is economic development, not cultural protection, not ecological care, and HCDA's framework by design is in direct conflict with a decolonized Aina-based value system. This plan, from its revenue-neutral affordable housing model, and I've been in your 99-year lease program, it's not affordable. I heard you all state it's targeted. Even that one and this one in the 400 to 600,000 range is targeted to middle class. It's not affordable, so who's going to be able to live here? The targeting of middle-income buyers to its expansion of roadways and leasehold schemes over ancestral Aina is an existential threat to living cultural landscapes, hydrological systems, and the spiritual integrity of Kanehili, Pu'uloa, and the larger Evamoko and Honolulu.
Ms. Rojas, you have 30 seconds to wrap up.
You
You have
cannot
30
call it
seconds to wrap up.
planning when you haven't done an AIS, no full archaeological inventory survey. And I hereby request a contested case hearing pursuant to Chapter 91 HRS regarding the proposed adoption of the Kalaeloa Master Plan. My interest in this matter is directly and immediately affected, and I request to be a party to any contested case proceedings. I request a contested case hearing.
Thank you,
Thank you,
Ms. Rojas.
Ms. Rojas. We'll now move on to the next
Except rules is on.
person registered to testify, who is Quentin Machida. Quentin?
Thank you. Quentin Machida, I'm with Gentry Homes, developer in Kalaeloa. Thank you for allowing me to provide testimony. First, I wanted to thank Ryan and the staff for their work on the rules. And I wanted the board to know we support the rule changes. We think it's very important to get it done in an expeditious fashion. It's really hard for a developer to move forward, knowing the rules are gonna change, but not having the rules. And so I think it would serve everybody if we can come to agreement. Don't get me wrong, we'll have our comments and we'll submit them to Ryan, and we've been commenting all along, but we do support the changes.
Great.
Or having a rule change. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Machida. The next person signed up to testify is Paul K. Paul K, are you here
It's online.
online?
He's online. Mr. K.
Are you able to hear me now?
Yes.
All right, very good. Thank you. All right, well, good morning, Chair, board members, and HCDA staff. Again, my name is Paul Kay. I am the Executive Vice President and Chief Operating Officer with Hunt Companies here in Hawaii. Thanks for the opportunity to provide testimony today on the Kalaeloa Master Plan and rules. Hunt is in favor of new Kalaeloa Master Plan and rules being approved. The adoption of clear, finalized rules is critical for effective planning and investment in Kalaeloa. When rules remain in draft form, it's challenging for us and other stakeholders to move forward with development, as the standards to design and process remain uncertain. Clear and predictable rules that facilitate the creation of homes and commercial opportunities for local families and businesses are fully aligned with Hunt's objectives for Kalaeloa. Since the plan and rule amendment process began in 2020 or thereabouts, we have actively participated in numerous work sessions with HCDA staff and really appreciate the collaborative and transparent approach that has characterized this process. We are pleased to see many positive elements in the current drafts, including removal of minimum FAR requirements, the introduction of a renovation permit, and more appropriately scaled permitting process, updates to the regulating plan and land use table, and the continued allowance of light industrial uses, which are really vital for job creation and economic growth. While there are a handful of outstanding issues that we continue to discuss with staff, we're optimistic that these can be satisfactorily addressed. Once resolved, Hunt will be able to provide its strong support at the November hearing date. We will be submitting written feedback outlining our specific comments to the July 2025 proposed master plan and rules prior to the September 16th deadline. Thanks again for your continued partnership and for considering our comments, and we look forward to working together to realize the shared vision for Kalaeloa.
Thank you, Mr. K.
Thank you.
Is there anyone else present or online who wishes to testify on this item? Do we have anyone online?
No.
Anyone present?
Done.
Okay, seeing none, we will close public testimony, and that leads us to closing today's hearing. If there are no further comments or discussions, then on behalf of HCDA authority members and its staff, I thank you for your attendance A decision-making hearing will be held on Wednesday, November 5th at 9 a.m. virtually on Zoom and at the physical meeting site. This public hearing now stands adjourned. The time is now 10 a.m.
5 minute break, or do you wanna go?
Members.